Hi everyone, this is Josh with Josh Wright Piano TV. Today's episode is a little untraditional for this channel. Generally on this channel I'm going over specific piano techniques or musical ideas or approaching a certain piece with my series called Pro Practice. I'll dive into full-length pieces there and full-length tutorials, but today I am going to address a question that I feel is very important. Should I pursue a career in music? And I'm also going to tell you my background as a pianist as well, because a lot of people say, how did you get started? What would you recommend? What are your biggest pieces of advice? And I'm going to give you guys some tips and hopefully answer that question by asking you guys a few questions. So I'll first start off with my background. I am 29 years old as of right now. It's August 2017. And I started when I was 5 years old, and I started with my grandma. She was a piano teacher. My mom taught piano in our basement. She went to some college for piano pedagogy, piano teaching, in other words, and she got cancer and had to drop out, and she got through her cancer treatments, and she's fine today, which is a great blessing. But my mom taught me for about 6 months until, of course, at 4.5 years old, I had learned everything possible and I knew more than her. As she always tells me, I thought I knew. So then I went to my grandma who, obviously, I don't think parents should be teaching their kids. I mean, you could say Van Cliburn, though. And obviously he had a very unique relationship with his mom. So, but anyway, I took from my grandma from age 5 to 9, and she just instilled a great love of music, good solid note reading foundation, pretty good technical foundation too, but not top notch. But I mean, I think at that young age it's important to learn really good technique, but I think more importantly the thing that she taught me is a great ability to read music. I don't believe in the Suzuki method aside from just a specific ear training portion of your practice method or of your practice sessions, but I think a great portion needs to be dedicated to actually reading music. And I know some people that are in Suzuki are like, no, we teach our kids how to read, but there is such a heavy emphasis on ear training, which is great, that sometimes that's neglected. I've taught a lot of Suzuki students that come to my studio from Suzuki, and that's an issue. So just be cautious of that. After that, I went and I auditioned for my teacher at the University of Utah. So I was about 9 or 9.5. Her name's Dr. Susan Duhlmeyer. She just retired. She was just, really a legend here in Utah and one of the greatest teachers, in Utah's history, and also just a real mentor to me. I did a full video dedication to her. You can watch. I posted that maybe a month or two ago. Anyways, just absolutely brilliant. I studied with her from age 9 to age 19, and then I went on a 2-year church mission, and then I came back and studied with her in my master's degree. So I did my undergrad, most of it before that church mission, and then a couple of years after finishing up my master's, and then I went to the University of Michigan with Dr. Logan Skelton after that, and I just had an absolute blast with him. He had such a different teaching style than I was used to. He's very analytical, very theoretical in his approach to music, which I found very fascinating. And he really taught me to be a better teacher as well as a better performer. But most importantly, he taught me how to think about music very effectively. So I'm forever grateful to him. And one of the greatest influences in my life outside of my primary teachers is a supplementary teacher who completely has changed my life, which is Sergei Babayan. I've probably done about 20 lessons with him. And I did most of those between the ages of 22 to 24 or 25. Lots of study with him, and that includes 2 of his academies where I tried to observe every single hour he taught. I didn't make it to every hour, but it was about 50 hours of teaching each academy that he did. It's a 2-week intensive course where he teaches 8 students from across the world, and those were life-changing lessons and experiences, and those are some of my most precious memories in my life because in those lessons whole new worlds were opened up to me about the possibility of beauty and sound. He's just an absolute phenomenon with producing beautiful effects and sounds on the piano. And, obviously his performances are wonderful, but they're so wonderful because of his careful attention to detail. So that's a little bit about me. I originally created this YouTube series because I was getting annoyed with my students teaching them the same concepts every lesson and having to go into detail. So I started my YouTube series in 2009 and said, hey, I just recorded a video. It's on YouTube. Just search for rhythms, or search for, the 4-3-2-1 exercise, or 1-2-3-4 exercise, or glissando's video, whatever it might be. And my student, I could briefly explain it in the lesson. They could go home and reinforce it. And that turned out to be quite successful. Started getting requests from all over the world. So then I started my Pro Practice series at the request of one of my students, Doug. And that turned out to be a really fun project that I'm still enjoying to this day. Still making those videos a little less often, just due to my teaching and performance schedule, but still going strong nonetheless. And then my student Mitchell encouraged me to do something like the VIP Masterclass series. If you haven't seen that, you can check it out just on my website. Just go to joshwrightpiano.com and then click on the little navigation button at the top right and go down to VIP, and you can read all about that. We're covering some really cool material in there. So if you want extra instruction, there's some cool stuff there. Let's get on to the question of, should you pursue a career in music? And the first question you need to ask yourself is, can you see yourself doing anything else and being happy? If you can say yes to that, you should highly consider doing that other thing, because I think music is one of the most brutal careers. It's also one of the most rewarding careers. It's so difficult in every aspect. A lot of people look at me like, oh, you've made it. I'm making a good living doing this. But I have tons of different income streams. I make a little bit from AdSense. I make some from Pro Practice video sales on my website. I make some from VIP signups. I make the majority of my income from private teaching. And then I make however much each year, depending on my concert schedule, from concerts. And then I make a pittance from my recordings. People think you make so much money from your CDs. You make almost nothing. But it's a way to stay sharp and add credibility and give something to someone that they can enjoy between your performances, and something to enrich the lives of others. That's why I still record. I don't do it as a money-making venture, because I would be the dumbest person ever if that's why I was doing it, because it doesn't make anything really. But those are the foundations of how I've made it as a musician. I want to encourage each of you to say, what are your unique skills, is what I want to ask each of you. How could you add to the music world? Some of you, it's going to be, I want to train young kids to get them ready for a more advanced teacher. And that's wonderful. As an advanced teacher, as someone who teaches at the college level, I teach international competitors, and I tutor. I've tutored people who are in their master's and doctoral programs. They'll come to me for occasional lessons on technique or something, like I just want to fix something. But I've also taught the other spectrum. I've started kids out from the very first, like, hey, this is middle C, and that's also rewarding. That might be the answer for you. Maybe you want to help musicians make a really good press kit and audition tape for their college auditions. Maybe you want to be a full-time accompanist, and you're still a professional musician if you're a full-time accompanist. If you are good at accompanying, you can make so much money doing that. I'm not talking millions, but I'm talking you can make a great living doing it. If you're in demand, you can charge higher prices if you're really skilled. If you speak multiple languages and you can help your singers with their diction, my goodness. My friend Mike Stewart, brilliant pianist. My gosh, he's so dang smart, and a great player as well. But he's basically, from what I understand, like a full-time accompanist in New York. He recently moved to Florida, but he said he was accompanying like 11 or 12 hours a day. Now that's pretty good money, because he's in demand. He's very good at what he does. Great player, but he also understands so much about language. That's a great way to make a living. I want to discourage you from thinking that the only way to make a great living as a musician is to play a bunch of concerts. Yes, you can do that. And people like Daniel Trifonov should be playing concerts as his living because he's so special. He's just a voice in this oversaturated music industry that is so unique. It's so wonderful. But some big name artists, I'm not going to name any, but I'm like, why are these guys famous? This is not special at all. Why are they famous? And some of them could have gotten lucky. There's multiple explanations as to why. But try to find your own voice. What do you want to add to this industry if you're wanting to go into music? I think that everybody should teach, because when you get away from teaching, you get away from having to explain things in a creative way that is out of your own comfort zone, and you become more articulate, you become more thoughtful, and you widen your understanding of music in general, as well as specific topics within music. So I'm not discouraging you from pursuing a life as a musician. I think it's the greatest life I could ever ask for, but I'm also going to tell you it comes with a great deal of hardship if you're not creative and innovative. So look for ways to innovate the industry or add a unique spin to something that's already in the industry. Something else I did is two of my albums were combining popular pieces. One of them was a hymns album, and the other was called My Favorite Things, which was mostly movie music or pop music combined with classical. So I meshed those together. I'll link those down in the description below, as well as the VIP and Pro Practice, all those links as well. So hopefully these are things that can get you thinking if music is right for you. So I love it, and I'm so grateful to each of you who watch this channel. I hope it's inspiring to you and gives you some new things to think about. If any of you have any questions, my email is josh@joshwrightpiano.com. Thanks for joining me today. Good luck in your practice sessions.